My goal has always been to be the best. I don't want to be the biggest. Could we be the biggest? Maybe. I don't need to be a household name. I don't need my face on a billboard. I'm certainly never going to run for office or anything like that, but we just really want to be the best for the people that we do work for. So whether we're doing 50 transactions in a year or 100, we want each and every one of those buyers or sellers to be served in a very, very high way. I think what sometimes people don't realize about real estate and about being an agent is this is a service industry. You have to be open to serving people and putting other people's needs ahead of your own.
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. We're excited to have everyone joining us today. But specifically, Felicity, we're excited to have you join us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so we're excited.
Yeah, so I'm going to just give a little bit of a backstory on Felicity, which you made a reference that you don't have a long bio, but I think it's just great. So Felicity Kahn is a team leader at Felicity Kahn & Associates and a partner at Berkshire Hathaway.
Woo-hoo.
Voted North Shore's best 10 years in a row, which is very impressive. You
deal.
Teach us how to do that because we're working our way that way.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, you're right. She's a neighbor #1 team in production in 2023, which I think is a testament not only to you, but the team you have. And you won the RE/MAX Lifetime Achievement Award when you were there. And for me personally, you didn't put this in here, but I think that you and your team are three of the most professional women that, as a group, in the industry right now. So I love doing business with you guys. Y'all are great.
Thank
Truly
you.
operating as a business.
Yes.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, you want to kick off the first question?
I will. I mean, we love to know about what brought you here and who you are as a person. So how did you get into the industry?
So it's kind of a funny story. I don't know if Jared's ever heard this story. So in 2014, my husband got into the business. He had a total career change, job change, life change, and decided to start flipping houses with his cousin. And they were trucking along, doing great. I mean, that was back when you could buy a house for, $80,000 and sell it for $120,000 after you painted. Yeah. And so at some point,
The good old days.
yeah, well, I had left my corporate job and I, left a cubicle job because I had my daughter and I decided I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So in the course of being a stay-at-home mom, you just made a face because I know that's right. You don't really see that. I didn't either, as it turns out. So my husband got into the real estate business and he was like, you know what, can you just go get your license? Because we don't want to have to pay an agent. And I was like, okay, sure, no problem.
I'll go. Flips.
Yeah, I'll go take the class and I'll be your listing agent and I'll still be a stay-at-home mom. So fast forward 10 years later, that's not how the business ended up happening. But when I look back, I realize that everything in my history led me directly to where I am right now.
Yeah.
And I graduated from Louisiana Tech with an English degree from an engineering school.
Are you from up there?
I'm not. I'm from Mandeville.
Really?
But I wanted to get as far away from here as I could and stay in state so
And
I
then
could get
come
tough.
right back?
And I came right back.
Slidell did the same thing to me.
So I got a lot of marketing under my belt. And, I graduated with an English degree. So what do? Oh, you go in sales, right? So that's where I met my husband, though. It was my first job out of college.
Yeah, working at the same place?
We were. Yeah.
So what were you selling at that point?
So I worked for Toland Enterprises, and we were in a warehouse in Mandeville. And I had interviewed right around the end of August in 2001. I graduated from Louisiana Tech in 2001, started trying to find a job. I was living at home. And I'd interviewed with this company, Toland Enterprises, and we printed doormats and flags and garden flags and sold B2B to small businesses around the country, like Hallmark type, like gift shops. Yeah. And so I interviewed and I didn't hear from them. And then September 11th happened. That was a Tuesday.
That was a month after you started.
I hadn't started. They hadn't hired me.
Oh, okay.
They called. I had September 11th happened on that Tuesday, and then that Friday they called and they were like, "Hey, okay, so we want to hire you. Can you start tomorrow?" And I was like, Yeah, tomorrow's Saturday. Okay, cool. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And so they were for real. Everybody in the company learned how to print flags in the factory that day because
Wow.
the demand was so high across the country because President Bush had gone on the news and told the story, everybody wants to be patriotic and
Yeah.
support the country and all
It's
that.
huge.
So
That's awesome.
it was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I met my husband Jay. We've been married 19 years.
Was he in
this
sales
year.
too?
No, he was in IT.
Okay.
He
Okay.
was help desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was help desk, but he will tell other people that I was his assistant, and that's just not true.
That's his version.
So how long was
Whatever
it?
keeps him happy.
How long
Right.
was it until he started flipping, or was he flipping the whole time?
So no, that was well, let's see, that was 2001 when we met, and then about 2013 is when he got into the business.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he was doing it a few months before he roped me in
Yeah.
to what ended up being a very fulfilling career.
Yeah, well,
By accident.
But he's done several flips. I mean, we've dealt with him on a couple of flips. Like, how involved are you in identifying the properties and helping him run the numbers and do all that stuff from an investment side?
Yeah, well, at first it was all me. I mean, I was picking out paint colors and, sweeping floors and cutting grass and all that kind of thing. But as my business began to grow and kind of take over my life as it ended up happening, he just relied more on his business partner and other outside sources. Because
Gotcha.
his business partner is also an agent
Gotcha.
and an appraiser.
Okay.
Oh, well, fun.
And so
Ton
you-
of resources.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, I had no idea. So, I mean, that speaks directly to real estate investors, too. I mean, you're helping on the residential side, but, I mean, investors are now in this market, real estate investors are finding a lot of opportunity.
Sure.
So is Jay still in the actively flipping?
He is. Not so much flipping, more new construction.
That's right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Demo
How
and new
is he?
construction.
I know a lot of people love getting out of remodels where you have to like undo other people's issues. New construction is so streamlined.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And especially if his background's in IT, he probably really enjoys the streamlined process. Potentially, I find that they either enjoy one or the other.
Sure. I think there's a little bit of both, but you can burn out on either side.
Oh, sure.
Exactly.
The renovations
Tell me
bring
about it.
surprises. The new construction can bring surprises too, but it's much more controlled, especially when you're only building or renovating specs and you're not dealing with the people aspect of it.
Yeah, custom. So my co-host on the WWL each weekend built custom homes, and the stories he tells me, I'm like,
He loves people, right? Still loves them.
he loves people still.
It's like working in the service industry. Like, oh gosh, I don't like people anymore. Crap.
So talk to me. What is your favorite part about what you do, like on a day to day, just in the industry?
So I'm a doer, and
What do you mean by that?
so I was the kid in the group project group that would do all the things because I
loved you in
wanted
my
it.
class.
Yeah, I know, right?
Jared is not that guy.
I would volunteer. Oh, I'll do it. I mean, mainly because I wanted to control it and I also wanted to
type
get
A.
an A. Yeah, absolutely type A. So with the skill set that I have, I can take someone from not knowing anything about it and then, making it look easy and taking stress off of somebody else because I know how to do all the things. And I need to get better, frankly, I think, about telling people what it is that we do for them and how hard we work because we just
Make
seem
it
to
look so-
breeze through. Yeah.
Make it look so easy.
And make it look easy. But I love kind of seeing that light bulb go off in somebody's eyes when they get it and you've taken them from this uncomfortable place to now a very comfortable and confident place and they can also facilitate that for them.
Yeah.
So, but that's an interesting thing. If you feel that much control over what you do, but also have been able to delegate what you've delegated in the team that you've built, there's usually those two things don't work well together. Somebody who likes to control things, but also understand the value of a team and the humility and the ability to pass things on to somebody else. And, you talk a lot about in what we talk in your notes before the meeting about you have a team of people that you work with. And we talk a lot about a lot of real estate professionals don't actually run their business as a business. And to see a business that actually operates within the real estate world shows that it's possible. So tell me how you kind of came to that ability to pass on some things to Aaron and Carla that you have a standard. How are you able to let that stuff go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I got into the business, I had a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. We had just moved. We were living in a motorhome behind a dumpster in the driveway of the house we were renovating to live into. That was one
Sounds
summer.
like a true flipper.
Right? And so
Sounds familiar.
as it turns out, this is where God intends for me to be. And so almost immediately, my business just took off. And so it was either eat or be eaten. And I found myself in a place where I was loving what I was doing. I never went back to the stay-at-home mom thing, but like I was not great at that. I loved it. I love my child, but I did not thrive at that environment, and I really don't think she did either. The joke that I say is my daughter was raised by me for the first 5 years of her life. My son went to school when he was 18 months and was raised by other people, and he's much better adjusted and less demanding than she is. No, but to answer the question, I got to a point where either the quality of service that I was providing was going to diminish or I needed help. And I wasn't going to slow down. My business was not going to slow down. I loved it. It was the thing, and I wanted to be the best that we could be for the people that we worked for. So I actually came to Terabella to a little party and ran into Erin Patterson. And just by chance, I ended up just gravitating to her, sat down next to her. We knew each other because we had been at a brokerage together previously. And she shared with me that she was thinking about getting into real estate full time. And I was, of course you should. This is amazing. It's been so rewarding and fulfilling for me. Here, why don't you talk to my broker and you can go, talk to him about being an individual agent. We would love to have you. And then our broker had a different idea. He was like, what about if Erin came to work for you? And I was like, Erin doesn't want to work for me. Like, for me? No, she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't need to work for me. And he said, you know what? She said the same thing. She said, oh, there's no way Felicity would want me to work for her. Yeah. And so we met and we talked about it, and here we are. The rest is history. That was absolutely the best decision that I ever made to add to my team. And it was a struggle because I knew that I was going to have to let go of people. I was going to have to let go of some jobs. I was going to have to, bring somebody into the circle who I had to trust to do the same good job that I would do for my people and, treat them like family. And I mean, literally an angel sent from God. So what Erin provided for me was more time with my family. Yeah. Because it got to a point, I think that was one of the questions was if I could go back in time, what would I tell my old self? And that would be, don't choose business over family. And so I did for a while, and that was a struggle. My daughter came home with a little school project all about your mom. And it was pretty much my mom sells houses, talks on the phone, and drinks wine. And I was like, okay, while this is accurate.
All admirable qualities, I must say.
While this is 1,000% accurate, maybe I don't want to be viewed by my kids that way. So, in comes Erin. And so she really helped me take my business to the next level. So instead of moving backwards with the number of transactions or volume, I think we doubled.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that they take good leverage. I mean, you can't beat it. How did you, was there a struggle with at first? Because I know how seamlessly y'all work now and how much she takes over the communication with the back end with us. And she's great at it. Like, was there a struggle at first, or did you have a process that you had before she walked in the door?
So one of the first things that Erin did was she put together checklists. And so we immediately had policies and procedures. That's awesome. And there were checklists on the wall. Like when you put a listing in, these are the things you do. When we have an open house, this is all the stuff I need. And, she was coming from a place of being an executive assistant. So she already had even more skills than I needed for her. Like I remember one of the first places we went together, she was like handling me. Like behind me, like people would be walking up to say hello and she would tell me who they were. And I'm like, I'm not like a politician, but I appreciate that. But it was awesome. I was like, gosh, I don't deserve her.
If she ever wants to retire from real estate, we got a spot.
Cut that part out. Nobody's going to steal her.
You're very lucky because a lot of the people that provide that support, to the rainmaker, the person that's out in the community doing the business development, is not the same person that builds the process. So the fact that she came in and provided both to you, that's a huge win.
Yeah. So tell us what her role is, just for everybody to know what Erin does for you.
Yeah, so Erin's a licensed realtor. She's also a notary, and she is the behind-the-scenes gal. So she's the one that does all the paperwork. She makes sure all the boxes are checked and all the T's are crossed and the I's dotted, all the compliance stuff. She's the second contact, so I can actually go out of town with my family, and my clients are still serviced. They know her. They know they can call her if they can't get me. And she has a great eye for design and staging. So whenever we have like a big staging project, she's my girl. Like we have one that we're going to go work on together tomorrow.
And so she actually is client facing. So she actually communicates with the clients.
She does.
At a certain point in the process.
She does.
Very good. So tell us about Carla.
Okay.
Well, so tell us about the rest of your team too.
Yeah. So Carla works with buyers exclusively. And she was formerly a physical therapist. So she has that, let me take care of you, I love
Bedside
you,
manner.
let me make you feel good kind of person. And man,
She's
is
the
she the
sweetest.
perfect buyer's agent. Like, I think if you took all of our personality profiles and lined them up, everybody is exactly where they need to be. So she came to me after, well, we met when we were at Remax together, and she was a year in. She had gone through all the amazing training that was going on at that office at that time. And so she was ready to go. And, we were, having the discussion about, okay, it's starting to get, even busier. We want to grow. And that was the next obvious ad was we have the admin in place, we have the policies and procedures, and now we need somebody that can be feet on the street. But again, perpetuate the brand, take care of our clients the way we do. And that was probably the hardest decision to make because working with buyers is fun and rewarding. Working with listings is also very rewarding, but in a different way.
Sure.
For
they're
me,
two different animals.
two different animals. For me, I always tell my clients, like especially the ones who are moving out of state, like last Friday, I was like, gosh, I hate to see nice people go.
Yeah, sure. That's
Yeah.
great.
So that's the buyer's process. Tell me about the listing side because you mentioned y'all do staging. Tell me about what happens when you get a listing.
We do. So the first meeting with a seller is, please tell us what your needs and your timeline is. It is all about them and what do they need. And we listen to them, we consult with them, we get a tour of their house, we find out all the things about why they love it and why they bought it. And then we sit down. I give a listing presentation. We talk about everything from the 3 Ps of real estate and how we're successful, all the way to, what does it look like for a showing. So by the time I leave that initial consultation appointment, I want them to be comfortable in the very high level of the process. And so what I do love probably the most is helping take a seller from a chaotic lived-in house, which is what I live in. I'm
We
not
almost everyone except for a few people, right?
yeah, just a few. That chaotic lived-in house to, a show-ready house that they feel comfortable and that they are proud of to show. And so many little details in between that, we handle. Like, I think if you wrote everything down, it would probably be 4 pages in 12 font of all the things that happen in between from the time you first meet to the time you are at the closing table and the seller's handing over the keys.
But you make it look so easy, but yet there's 4 pages worth of action items that have to happen.
But there's
Yes.
a process. I mean, that's the biggest thing, like a documented process on what you do to get a house listing ready. And I mean, again, we're talking about actual business, like you running a business, and you can do the volume because it's a step-by-step process. I mean, it's so invaluable, and just getting people to wrap their brain around that just seems to be so difficult. And something you said, like getting a chaotic house list ready. Me and Stephanie were talking the other day, and I wish I could go back and remember the day in my life in which every room was like all adult things, and then the next day where every single room in your house has a kid's toy. From the shower to your bed to their room to the kitchen, like every single room in your house has a kid something in it.
Remind everybody how many kids you have.
I have too many. I have 3, and I tell everybody that we should have stopped at 2. I just don't know which one to give away. So I'm stuck with all
Oh,
3 on
don't
this
you
one.
dare.
Yeah.
I love them all.
But so we talked a little bit about where you see the industry going, and I'm going to be pointed about how I asked this. How do you market your properties now? Because it's changed. Like you started in what
2013.
2013. That's 11 years ago, and so things have changed since then.
So to be fair, back in those days, I had a flip, and I remember one of the very first agent I ever hired to list one of my flips. I asked him what was his process, and he literally said he was putting it in the newspaper, and I was like,
Ooh.
all right,
Okay.
I wonder how much that would help today.
what newspaper?
But so tell me, like when you're marketing properties, what do you do now, and how has that kind of changed over time? And I think this will help people understand the way that your processing changed too, because it's not the same as it was, and it will not be the same going forward. So kind of talk about what you're doing now and how you've kind of developed that over your career.
Yeah, so going back to 2013, we absolutely would advertise open houses in the paper. I had a client who wanted to be, it was an enviable address, but you couldn't purchase that. Like you had to be chosen to be that, so you had to kind of be a past advertiser. I still have that newspaper rep in my phone. But sometimes you have clients who want that and appreciate that. So, but we do everything. The focus is photos and video, and there's no better platform for photos and video than the the social media, everything on social media, but also the major real estate websites. So I have, this may be too granular, so this may need to be cut out, but I have 2 social media pages. I have my personal page on which, if you're a real estate agent, I don't care where you are, I will be friends with you. And then I have my business page, and of course, you know, the organic following there. And so I realized very quickly that you can reach, I don't know, 2,000 people. I mean, 1,500 of which are real estate agents with pictures of your client's photo. So we always make sure to have the most amazing professional photography, always. I don't care the price point. I don't care how difficult it may be. That is a given. That is not, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not a negotiable. That's right. And then video too, because it's a numbers game. You know, the more people you get through the door, the more likely you are to sell. So we are going to make sure that the house is putting its best foot forward through the marketing that we do.
Yeah. So I totally agree, and I think everything that's happening in the industry, and I think whatever's gonna happen in the industry years from now, the agents that have the best social media following and understand how to use video are the ones that are going to be the most. That's why we're doing this in a way.
Yeah.
We're trying to help agents understand like there's a way for you to promote yourself through video, as a person, as a professional, but showing your listings on the internet is the only way, in my opinion, to sell a listing. You do an open house, you have 10 people walk through. If you do a video, that's going to cost relatively the same amount of money to do it, and you share that on social media, you get 100,000 impressions potentially if you get the right amount of traction.
Have you guys seen some of the stuff that has gone viral in the real estate industry? Like, there's this guy out of Texas that does aggressive videos of like a walkthrough of a listing, but it's aggressive. He's like, could this island get any bigger?
I need to see it.
It's like one of the, anyway, it's super fun, but it's viral. So I'm now following this real estate agent out of San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
You said Chattanooga, Texas?
I'm trying to move to Texas.
Oh, they said Chattanooga, Texas.
No.
I was like, okay.
Different place.
But it's that idea of like his videos work so well, it reached me in New Orleans, right? And so that's a huge point.
100%.
Because at the end of the day, I myself, not being licensed, someone asked me today, should I sell my house for sale by owner because interest rates are so high? One way that we can kind of like offset having to maybe, lower our price, people can't afford as much, is by saving on the commission side. I said, that would be a joke. Like, don't. Like, I've always sold my houses with agents because it gets in front of more people. And so that's huge. People don't realize that part. But just by choosing an agent is not the end-all, be-all. Because what if in 2024 they're putting it in the newspaper, right?
Or faxing open house flyers.
Right. And so,
Which we have some people who would
We do.
suggest that at this point.
but that's that point where it's like, are they getting in front of enough people? I had someone call into the radio that had a $500,000 house off of North Lee Road that he had for sale by owner for 6 months. And he was like, what am I doing wrong? And so I said, okay, so it's either 3 things. You either have a quirky house, you're not priced right, or you're not in front of enough people. And when we talked through it was not a quirky house, and he was not priced wrong. And so I said, and so he immediately listed it with an agent and went under contract within a day or two. And actually for higher than what he was asking. And he was like, I didn't realize that part. And it was because, what did he do? He had a for sale by owner sign out front and maybe something on his Facebook page, but he had 300 friends?
300 friends that are not in the real estate industry.
That may
Right.
not be, and also may not be buying right there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, or
They probably
maybe-
live next door.
yeah, like, so those, that's critical. That's critical, and obviously it speaks to how you handle your clients. It speaks to your success because people continue to choose you. People continue to choose your team. So it's a great testament.
Yeah, so tell me, so how do people follow you on social media? I mean, you said you have your business page, you have your real estate page, and I know that you obviously value social media. You have a social media manager. So how do you manage your social media? Do you do that directly? So you do the marketing? And tell me about that process for you.
At one time I did, and I loved it. And as it evolved and I got busier and I realized that I personally did not want to take the time to learn how to, make a reel, but I had already delegated it long before that. So I provide content and we strategize and we talk about, what do we think people are interested in? How do we get the message out? What do we want people to know about us, how we work, or just what's going on with the market and the industry?
And that's your personal brand, managing your personal brand.
Correct.
And then what about listing showing somebody's house, showcasing somebody's house on social media? Like, what's the plan for that usually?
Oh, sure. So we do professional photos, obviously, and then a listing walkthrough. I've been sitting here thinking about during COVID. Remember when the world stopped, but real estate didn't stop? And so we immediately had Matterport, 3D scans done of all of our listings because we were afraid that people weren't going to be able to come see them in person.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I did. I didn't pull back on marketing. I spent a bunch of money making sure that our listings could be shown off. So the idea behind all that marketing is just to get somebody through the door. We get joked at a lot, people are hard on us, the grass isn't really that green, or, you Photoshop that, or this isn't what the house looks like in person.
Of course, you're going to make it look nice.
For sure, because we want people through the door.
Yeah.
But we do, I've always done video. I started doing video, I think in 2014, I sent Jen an old one. I was like, oh, who's that little girl? She's so cute.
Did you see Courtney's most recent video she posted?
I shared one from 13 or 14 years ago, and I'm like, I even sound different.
Yeah.
And you guys.
Growth is good. Growth is good, y'all.
Look, but we have our
For sure.
different eras, right?
Right?
Yeah.
We were out there, though, right?
Shout out to T Swift.
Yeah.
So,
My era was Jared 30 pounds ago and Jared 30 pounds now. So, yeah, there's two eras
Same.
for me. Yeah. That's what this business
Doing
will
this
do
together.
too. Yeah, no kidding. So, to take a little shift, and I'm going to kind of throw a curveball at you a little bit because you didn't say that we didn't talk about this one before, but something that's important to Lauren and I, and one of our values at Arena is legacy. And what you want your name and impression to be on the industry going forward. And I know you've thought about it. You dress more professionally than most people do around here. You obviously want to make a statement as to who you are and what people are working with. So talk about that. If you thought about what the long-term impression you want of the industry is, what are the goals maybe that you have for your team, where you want to go? And then I have another question too, and I'll tease it out there. You don't have to answer this at first, but if your children came to you and said they wanted to be in real estate, what would you tell them?
Two loaded questions.
To start with the legacy part.
Could have given her a glove before you did that.
The legacy part. So my goal has always been to be the best. I don't want to be the biggest. Could we be the biggest? Maybe. I don't need to be a household name. I don't need my face on a billboard. I'm certainly never going to run for office or anything like that, but we just really want to be the best for the people that we do work for. So whether we're doing 50 transactions in a year or 100, we want each and every one of those buyers or sellers to be served in a very, very high way. I think what sometimes people don't realize about real estate and about being an agent is this is a service industry. You have to be open to serving people and putting other people's needs ahead of your own. And I was on the phone last night with some sellers, and it was probably 7:15, and we were talking about paperwork, and we were having to pull the trigger really quickly. And I told them genuinely, authentically, I said, I'm going to be available for you until about 9:20. I turned my phone off at 9:20, but please don't hesitate to call me if you have a question as you're sitting down looking at all this stuff, because you have to be available for your clients when they're available. And if that's 8 p.m., that's 8 p.m. I've gotten calls from you at 8 p.m. for sure.
Raise your hand if you've gotten a call from Jared after 9, 10 o'clock.
Sorry, guys.
We're all been victimized.
I love it.
The grind requires you got to work after your kids go to sleep sometimes.
I know, that's right. That's, especially when they're super young.
Yeah.
But and legacy and goal is I really want people to understand what it's like to work with a full-time, full-service agent, because it is a much different experience than most people have ever had with an agent. In fact, one of my very best friends was a client first, and he told me, I will never list my house with anybody ever again because you did things for me that I didn't even know I needed to be done. And so that's the legacy. It's just elevating the way the world looks at the real estate industry and agents specifically.
Yeah,
Felicity for president.
Yeah.
You already have the person on your staff that can help with that.
Yeah. No,
Love it.
The great agents make a huge difference. There's no doubt about that. Now tell me, if your son or your daughter, right, you have a little boy and a little girl,
Yeah.
If they came to you and said they wanted to be in the real estate world, what would you tell them?
So I love that idea. I think one of them will probably come work with me. The other one will eventually come around.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would be the best thing ever. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
Because, it's one thing to hand over clients and business to, people that you don't know who have become your family, but to actually be able to pass something along, I think would be the best thing ever.
Yeah. Me and my brothers always talk about that. My brother is a plumber and he works and went to college, but he got into that industry. He loves it, working with his hands. And we were talking about the other day, that's the one thing, my dad's a physician. He can't, unless we go to med school, it's nothing that he can pass on to us. I know you got to get your real estate license, but I love the idea of maybe one day our kids doing the same thing, because all of the arena collective, all of us have children, and taking over and passing that legacy on to our kids. But of course, they'd have to go to law school, which is a little, we'll see if that ever happens. But
You can always go to law school. Be a
but
lawyer.
you're right.
yeah.
And
But
they keep you young and
Yeah.
they keep you current. Like my 12-year-old son knows more about technology than all 5 of us in this room right now. I can guarantee it. Like he knows all the things.
Yeah, when you need help with technology, go find, a teenager.
Absolutely.
Or a preteen. Or you can even go ask the 5-year-old.
My 18-month-old's already moving the phone like
Swiping.
this. I'm like, how
Yeah.
do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
So I know that's a huge part, right, within legacy. So as a real estate investor, we think about real estate it can be generational. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. And so moving forward, when you think forward facing, what do you think that looks like for Felicity Kahn and her team?
Yeah. So, personally, my goal is to have enough passive income so that when I decide one day that I maybe don't want to work as hard as I work, that I can make that choice. Maybe it'll be because one of the kids is ready to come up and step into the business, or maybe it's just because, I'm burned out, but I've made good financial decisions along the way, so I can choose to do that. Part of me also thinks maybe I'm setting myself up to be able to take care of parents, because that's coming down the pike too. So
That's a very real reality for a lot of people.
yeah, it really is.
Where it may be forced, it's a forced another hat we wear.
Yeah.
And the idea of passive income to me, you probably hear it all the time. You want to get into real estate for passive income, which just a real estate investor is not a passive.
It's a facetious
activity.
word,
Yeah.
because there's nothing passive about it, but yet there are various forms of it.
Yeah. But again, in the real estate business, and Lauren talks about this all the time, in the real estate business, as a real estate agent, as a real estate investor, as real estate attorneys in a way, or business attorneys,
Business owners.
Yeah, in my opinion, the most passive way to make money is to do what you're good at, create systems around it, and then teach other people how to do it. There was a podcast I was listening to, and actually the guy that was being interviewed asked the interviewer, he was like, does your business operate without you? And the guy was like, no. He's like, well, that's the first sign that you don't truly have a business. And the second indication that you truly don't have a business is that your business doesn't grow without you. When you can get to where your business operates without you, that's great. But when you can get to where it grows without you, that's whenever you've actually made it.
Yeah.
And
But you've never actually made it because you're always going.
You're always, then you find something else to.
Sorry.
Well, you always
Build
keep
and grow.
moving. You keep moving the target.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
the field goal post. Yeah.
Well, so with passive income, so most people, it's either through the businesses, right? So you're talking about if your kids come into play, they can kind of take the reins or something along those lines. And most other people get it from owning rentals, or basically get it through interest. So selling stuff on financing or lending and getting interest from that. And no matter what, there's never really a truly passive form of it, but it has to, no matter what, all three require intention, right? So whether it's building the processes, whether it's buying properties and not selling them immediately, like we're all inclined to do, there's rarely an HGTV show about the passive side of stuff. Why? Because it's not sexy. It's
Yeah.
not.
Getting up from the Thanksgiving table to go fix somebody's well pump because they're also having Thanksgiving dinner and their water just shut off is not glamorous.
Yeah, that sounds like a real life story.
Yeah.
But those things, and so that's exciting. But at the end of the day, tell me this. What would Felicity today tell Felicity when she just got started all those years ago?
Felicity today would tell little Felicity, just keep going, just keep doing, just don't stop. I had one moment where I did almost want to quit. I just had a really bad day and everything fell apart all at one time. And I'm so glad I didn't.
Yeah, you made the comment a little while ago that you wish that maybe you would have spent more time with family and focused on that as much as you're focused on business. But like, I mean, I'm in that point in my life right now, and I feel like you have to go through that phase a little bit to recalibrate yourself in some way, and at least maybe that's the justification I'm telling myself, because right now, just in the phase of the business we're in over the first couple of years, knowing that the statistics are small businesses are going to fail more likely than not, you got to put in that effort that other people won't put in, and sometimes you have to sacrifice in some places, but you have to know. I mean, at least what I'm telling myself is at some point it's got to give, and you've got to be setting yourself up to get there. This can't be forever, and so I don't know. Maybe that's just my way of justifying it, but you got that season of your business where you get to the point,
building.
yeah, where you get to the point where you've created the leverage and the systems where you can pass it on. You have to go through that grind in order to get there.
And everybody talks about the negative side of that, but like, look at the beautiful side of that, right? When your daughter's explaining who you are, while it might not hit every box that you want her to perceive you as, you're showing her what's possible for a woman if they choose that life. Right? And I tell myself that all the time, and I take joy in it. And I have open conversations with my girls about it. We live next door to my sister-in-law that works only certain days a week. They see that as a beautiful example, as an option of who they can be. And you can also be a full-time entrepreneur if you choose to do that, because that wasn't always an option, right? So there's a beautiful side to the hustle and the grind. I respect every day that I got to watch both of my parents do that, and it's part of who I am today.
Yeah.
Well, and that's true. Seth Godin has a great book called The Dip. And in the front cover, it goes like this, right? So it's like this big, it's almost like think of it like, I don't know, New Orleans pothole. And so,
We know those.
we do know those. Someone was speeding in our neighborhood last night.
You're like, ha-ha.
I heard my significant other say, I hope they hit a pothole. What a curse. Anyway, but at the end of the day, it's like that idea that most people don't get through the dip. They don't get through that season of really hustle and grinding and hitting in the right work, right? Heading in the right direction. And it's not just that busy work. And then when they get out, then they have, there's always going to be future challenges, future hurdles, but it's that idea of you now can stand upon something that has a foundation. And most people, if they don't have foundation, it's the work to build it, right? And so, yeah.
I'm glad you said it, because last week I had that moment where I was like, I'm out. Like, this industry is going to lose a warrior because I'm out. Like, I was like, I hit a wall. Because, I mean, it's like it's just getting busy right now. And the amount of time I'm missing my family, and then you see something, and maybe
We get pulled in a lot of directions.
Yeah, well, I had that feeling last week. But you
Don't worry, community. I ain't letting it happen.
get up the next day and you just keep going.
But how many of us have had that thought?
Yeah.
I've had the thought more than once that I've wanted to quit. Mm-hmm. But yet, here's the thing is, people don't actually hear that from us often. So I really appreciate the vulnerability of that, because so many people, if I ever, I forget to pull back the curtain and share that, like, hey, I'm human. Me too. I've wanted to quit on numerous occasions. And people are like, oh my gosh, I would never have thought that. But the reality is it's not that it's not human to not have that thought. It's just, what do you do with that thought when you have it? What is your support group? What does your community look like? What is your, what are the things in your life that you've built up to help you counteract those thoughts when you have them?
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing for us, and I think that's really kind of pulled us through, is exactly what we're doing right here. We do business with people that we actually care about, and our ideal client is somebody who shares common values with us. And so if it wasn't for the fact that, like, probably the next day I got a phone call from somebody that I wanted to support, like the people that support me, I would it would have been harder to get up. It was somebody I didn't like. But I think we genuinely have attracted clients that we can relate to, that we share values with. And that's really what gets me excited about it. I'm on the relationship side of the business a lot. And so, like, I just get the calls and the requests, and it's so hard for me, like, we're talking about delegating, like, that part's hard for me to not be involved in the communication at some point.
Don't laugh too much.
Yeah, she's her leg shaking
Holding it.
under the
I'm
table.
holding it in.
Because I just love that part of it. And I think that's what kind of getting me through it is the relationships that I've built in this town.
Sure.
And the ideal client that we've identified.
It's the duty to the people that we are like, hey, I want to show up and help.
Yeah.
And this whole time I thought it was my pep talks leading.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So with that being said, as we start to land the plane here, any other final thoughts from you guys?
I'll just say, again, what I said at the beginning, I meant And I appreciate the level of professionalism that you and your team bring and the impact y'all are making with the neighbor community, because I know that you're a big part of neighbor, and now Carl is a big part of neighbor, and WCR and all those different things, and supporting the community. Our goal is to support the community. So it's great doing business with people that are professionals, that understand the value of video and social media, and trust us and rely on us to help you with whether it's your estate plan, helping you with your business, or the real estate side. So it's been fun doing business with you.
Y'all are really easy to refer.
Yeah.
Seriously, though. Like, I got a guy, and you're my guy, and you're my gal, and you're my gal. And I know that when I, send a number and then call you and say, hey, this person may call you, when they do, because they typically do, they'll pick up the phone, and they're very well taken care of. And I don't have to worry about it. I mean, I love connecting people. And y'all are my people, and we appreciate y'all too.
Thank you.
That's absolutely. Yeah,
I feel like I should follow that with a hug. No, your success isn't a surprise to me, because I always explain to everyone that there has to be a purpose other than making money. And it's just so clear in all of our conversation today how much you care about the real estate industry and the people that you work with. And if you have that kind of true focus and heart behind it, success will follow.
Absolutely. Thanks. Well, look, I'm excited to have you today. I'm excited for the conversation we had. And so tell people, how can they reach out to you? So what are the ways? Let's talk about your social media. Let's talk about your website, things like that.
I'm on Instagram at Felicity Kahn Realtor, on Facebook as well. We have a website, felicitycahn.com. I think if you can get the spelling of my name right and you just Google it, it will come up. But it is Kahn.
We will put it in the show notes, so that'll be easy for us to be able to put in there.
Cool. Thank you for coming.
Awesome.
That was great.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all. This was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.